Hi everyone, welcome to FilmDirt. I've just revisited John Wick Chapter 3. Keanu Reeves is fantastic in this. It all looks like a very brutal, painful acting gig for him because the fights are, again, so real looking. The injuries look real. The blood looks real. It's all as convincing as ever. He's joined again by Laurence Fishburne, Ian McShane and Lance Reddick, and joined this time by Halle Berry, Asia Kate Dillon, Anjelica Huston, and quite a few other faces we've seen in other stuff, as well as I think a few of the fighters from the Matrix films as well thrown in. Once again, we've got some pretty insane fight sequences, and I was absolutely thoroughly entertained throughout. Maybe in the last 10-15 minutes I was starting to wane, because you're just subject to an avalanche of fantastic fight scenes, and it's all great. I think it was just over 2 hours, maybe slightly too long for a film of this type where it's just wall-to-wall action. I think if you cut it a little bit tighter, I think less is more in this case, because we'll still enjoy the fights and all the fantastic action, but it won't be outliving its welcome. I think just over 2 hours, I think, is slightly too long. But, you know, it was all great. You had some individual sequences here where he's on horseback. It was absolutely thrilling. And also fighting against motorcycle villains. And also in another huge fight with dogs attacking everyone as well. It was fantastic. And it looked like it was pretty much all in one shot and shot for real, because it really did look convincing. You know, no fault can be laid upon the filmmakers for just throwing everything on screen and hoping it sticks with some dodgy CGI. I didn't see any of that. The only dodgy CGI maybe are the blood squibs and a couple of the knife blades. You know, obviously they couldn't be real, but it really did look good. And I think we're at the point now where we're almost to the point of actual realism. You know, there's an uncanny valley which spoils a few scenes in other films. Not so here. I think they've got it down really tight. I think that's the best way I can describe it. We know it's fake, obviously, but if you get it looking convincing, as they have done here, I think, you know, you can reduce the uncanny valley to retain the audience's interest. And I've got to say, I was worn out just watching it. You know, it really is that good. And of course, I've got a few negatives, and that's probably more to do with the fact that we're 3 films in now, so we can't really tell the same story. And for me, I felt that we were slightly straying from the hitman element, which I think made parts 1 and 2 as good as they were, because we still had that element about the John Wick character, and he's working for this underground organisation. We've strayed from that slightly because we now need to be redeemed into the high table, and also I think we strayed a little bit into the Matrix territory, where it was just a little bit of mumbo jumbo being weaved into the story here, where we've got other characters to have to deal with now. We've got the Arabic characters, and they hold a higher position. I couldn't quite work out what it was, but you know, they were in power to, you know, redeem him somehow. Obviously, we've got the adjudicator played by Asia Kate Dillon, who was brilliant, and another higher ranking character played by Jerome Flynn. So there was an element of being a little bit convoluted for me. But all in all, I think we got a really entertaining film. We're 3 films in now, so it had to be different. We don't want to see more of the same. That's the trap that a lot of sequels fall into, I think. We just need to see an evolution of the character, but I think we kind of got lost in the point of the story here. And also another slight negative, and I did reference it in the previous 2 reviews I did for the other films, and that's that we've now got a very deep a high contrast filter with green and teal in most of the film, and I found it really off-putting. I don't mind a little bit of a filter, but I think we've got the colour saturation here blown up to 10, and most of it is green. And I felt that in the previous films we had a nice natural look. I know the nightclubs really spoiled the point I'm trying to make here, where you've got lots of light and that's fine. But in the outside world, what we had before was a very nice dusky look, I felt. Not so here. We've got the saturation dialed up and the contrast dialed up, so it's lots of blacks and lots of bright lights. Visually it looked great, but I felt it was just dialed up too much, and for most of the film as well. So by crossing into a lot of this, I called it mumbo jumbo, but we've got to expand the lore here and introduce more characters and more danger for our protagonist. We've got a way forward for this story to progress. I just wished it was done a little bit more back to basics, where it's just a little bit simpler like the previous two films were to some extent. And in saying that, at the time of this review, we've got Chapter 4 less than a week away to release. I will try and see that as soon as I can and bring you a spoiler-filled review. And also, I didn't mention the acting. I felt everyone was as convincing as they could be. We got the right amount of comedy. Everyone's here to establish whether they're friend or foe. The villains are as they should be. And Ian McShane is great as he's apparently a turncoat, and he had us fooled all along. Who knows? I think all will be revealed in Chapter 4. And also great acting by the dogs. They were brilliant, as vicious and fierce as they could be. And how about a score for this? I have to mark it down slightly from the previous films. It's a 4 stars. I really enjoyed this, but it was just a little bit let down by the over-convoluted story we're now veering into, and that horrible filter. I don't really like seeing films with this unnatural looking filter, and I know a lot of action films are going that way now, and it's you know what I mean, it's a really lurid green, overly saturated filter. It's green and gold, where it really pops and it looks really unnatural, and I don't know, it's not for me. I like it a little bit more natural looking. So as I said, stand by next for my spoiler review of John Wick Chapter 4. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe, you know the drill. And join me again next time. All the best and take care.